The US-backed anti-government protesters here in Thailand have gotten another boost. And again, this time from US-based tech giant Twitter. And right here we see Twitter Thailand. They're making this announcement. It's in Thai, but what it roughly translates into is, as long as you're following our rules and our policy, you are allowed to say whatever you want on our platform. And if you say something that is illegal in Thailand, here are some lawyers that will be more than happy to help you. And what they're encouraging people in Thailand to do is to break Thai law while using Twitter, to engage in criminal defamation on Twitter. And if they get caught, they're assuring these people that these lawyers will help them. Who are these lawyers? This is Thai Lawyers for Human Rights and iLaw. And if these sound familiar, they should, because I've gone over them many times in the past. They're both funded by the US government through the National Endowment for Democracy, and they are core organizations that have been organizing and leading these anti-government protests since they began, since actually before they began. And we could prove this. This is the National Endowment for Democracy's own website. And if you just come down to the bottom here, this is from 2014, when Thai Lawyers for Human Rights was first founded. So the very first year that they existed, they were being funded by the US government right here. And one of their staff, Anon Nampa, right here, his affiliation is with Thai Lawyers for Human Rights. This is from Frontline Defenders. It's a Soros-funded front that helps protect US-funded agitators all around the globe. If we go to the South China Morning Post, let's just read the headline. In case you're doubting that Anon Nampa is a protest leader, meet Anon Nampa, the Thai lawyer who is one of the driving forces behind youth protests. And of course, they're talking about the protests in Thailand. And then there's iLaw. And we know iLaw is funded by the US government through the National Endowment for Democracy because it says so on the NED's website, but it also says on iLaw's website. So good for them for being at least somewhat transparent. Here's the National Endowment for Democracy. Here's the Henrik Boll Foundation and also Open Society Foundation. They're getting millions of Thai baht every year to do this. And they have been directly involved in these anti-government protests also since they began. And they also were directly involved in a petition to address one of the three key demands of the protesters. So what was that key demand? Here's Bangkok Post. October 2020, protesters reiterate three key demands. They want the prime minister to resign. They want to amend the constitution, the charter of Thailand, and they want reforms of the monarchy. So the number two key demand, iLaw launches petition for charter rewrite. So a US government funded front that would not exist without foreign backing wanted to petition to rewrite Thailand's constitution. And Anon Nampa was literally leading the protests, and he belonged to a lawyer organization also funded by the US government. And now Twitter, a US-based tech giant, is teaming up with both of them to encourage Thai people to come back out, continue breaking the law, and trying to divide and destroy the country. So I thought this was an important update. This isn't the first time Twitter has done this. They have a history of working with US-funded and backed instability all around the globe. In Southeast Asia in particular, we might remember this older BBC article, Milk Tea Alliance. Twitter creates emoji for pro-democracy activists. And basically what's going on is the US is funding opposition groups all over Southeast Asia and Asia in general. And the common denominator is, one, the US is funding them, and two, they're all irrationally anti-Chinese. They have this inexplicable hatred for China. They want to take over their respective countries and cut ties with China and isolate China, which just by coincidence is what the US State Department would also like to see happen. So Twitter has launched a new emoji for the Milk Tea Alliance, a movement uniting Asian pro-democracy activists. The alliance has brought together anti-Beijing protesters in Hong Kong, which we know was funded by the US government, and Taiwan, which we also know is funded by the US government, and pro-democracy campaigners in Thailand and Myanmar. Again, both of these opposition movements are funded by the US government extensively. And then there was this older one, just to show you that it's not just in Southeast Asia. And recently, this was from 2009, US State Department speaks to Twitter over Iran. So the US State Department was making requests of Twitter about their maintenance schedule to shift it around so that they could continue coordinating US-backed unrest inside Iran following elections in 2009. Can you believe that? This is a reminder and another example and a wake-up call to Thailand and basically any other nation around the globe where Twitter, Facebook, Google, where these foreign tech companies dominate your country's information space. This is a national security threat, and it needs to be addressed. They should be forced to open offices in that country. They must abide by local laws, and if they don't, they get expelled. And at the same time, every single country needs to be developing their own social media networks so that when they threaten to expel Twitter, they actually have an alternative, a backup and some sort of leverage over Twitter when they make this threat. If you thought this video was useful, please like and share it. Think about subscribing to my channel. It's free to do and it helps the channel grow. Look in the video description for all of these links that I just went over, as well as for ways you can help support my work, like by becoming a Patreon member. Through Patreon, you can support my work month to month, and you also get some extra content in return. And to everyone who has been helping me, thank you so much. I wouldn't be able to do this without that support. And as always, thank you for watching.